Hey everybody, my name is Dan McClellan. I'm a public scholar of the Bible and religion, and I seek to increase public access to the academic study of the Bible and religion, and also to combat the spread of misinformation about the Bible and religion. Let's take a look at a video.
So why did the Mosaic Law say that rape victims must marry their perpetrators? Deuteronomy 22, if a man encounters a young woman, a virgin who is not engaged, takes hold of her and rapes her, and they are discovered, the man who raped her is to give the young woman's father 50 silver shekels, and she will become his wife because he violated her. He cannot divorce her as long as he lives. It's right there, black and white. Why is this even a thing? It's because it's a bad translation.
All right, let's see it.
The word used here in conjunction to lie with a woman that most translations will translate as rape is the word tafas. This word means to seize, to lay hold of, but the problem is to translate that as a forcible sexual act is incorrect.
So the verb tafas all by itself does not refer to a forcible sexual act, but when used in conjunction with the verb shachav, to lie with, that's precisely what it means. Tafas, when the object is a person, always refers to forcible seizure of someone.
In a similar context, the word is used in Genesis 39, where it says that she, Potiphar's wife, grabbed him, Joseph, by his garment and said, "Sleep with me." You can see even in the context of that story that Joseph has an opportunity to escape, even though Potiphar's wife has laid hold of him or seized him.
No, the text says she seized his garment, which did not escape. But the possibility of escape is not a part of how we interpret the sense of the verbal root tafas.
Furthermore, if you look just a little bit earlier in the chapter, it says that if a man encounters an engaged woman in the open country and he seizes and rapes her, only the man who raped her must die. The law goes on to say, do nothing to the young woman because she is not guilty of an offense deserving death. This case is just like one in which a man attacks his neighbor and murders him. Now here's the thing, the word being used here to describe the sexual act is not the same as used in verses 28 and 29. It is the Hebrew word chazak. The word means to strengthen, to prevail over, to force.
So it can mean that in the call and in the PL. However, here in Deuteronomy 22:25, it occurs in the hifil. So it means to seize or to grasp. And so we have to seize or to grasp in conjunction with shachav, to lie with. Similarly, we have tafas occurring with shachav, to lie with. And then in the case of the rape of Dinah, in the book of Genesis, we have lakach, used in conjunction with shachav, to lie with, and lakach means to take. So in all three instances, we have some kind of verb that means to seize, to grasp, to take control of, and then to lie with. All three of them refer to sexual assault, to rape.
And so these laws that are right next to each other are actually describing two different acts.
So they're not two different acts. They're one act where the woman is engaged or married, and there's another act where the woman is not engaged or married.
One is describing an act in which there is no escape for the woman because the man has forced himself upon her.
The possibility of escape is simply not relevant to what these words are used to mean.
And the second one deals with a man who hasn't overpowered, he hasn't forced the woman, but he has, let's say, convinced her.
Absolutely not. When tafas is used with a human as the object, it always means to physically grasp or seize.
This is where it's helpful to look at a similar law in Exodus 22, where it says, if a man seduces a virgin who is not engaged and he sleeps with her, he must certainly pay the bridal price for her to be his wife. If her father absolutely refuses to give her to him, he must pay an amount in silver equal to the bridal price for virgins, which is similar to the outcome we see in Deuteronomy 22, where it says the man is to give the young woman's father 50 silver shekels, and she will become his wife because he violated her. You can see the similarities between the two. There is a general description given in Exodus 22, and there's a more specific mention in Deuteronomy 22.
No, they're just two different laws describing two different scenarios. In Exodus 22, the verb is patah, which means to entice or deceive. So these are two different laws describing two different scenarios, and trying to turn them into two different perspectives on the same scenario is presupposing univocality.
You also have to take note of the verbiage that's in this particular law that's not pertinent to any of the other laws regarding forcible sexual acts prior to it. It says, and they are discovered. It alludes to the fact that whatever is going on here is a voluntary participation by both parties.
It's doing absolutely no such thing whatsoever. It is talking about the fact that the act is known about rather than something that's alleged. We just got done talking about what a man can do if he marries a woman and then upon consummating the marriage becomes suspicious that she is not a virgin. This is talking about what happens if a man forcibly takes away a woman's virginity and the act is discovered.
And it's pretty complicated to translate what's going on in the Hebrew here into English.
So it's not complicated at all, and there's absolutely no lexical case to make for the reading this creator is suggesting. So they're obfuscating to make it sound really hazy and fuzzy to excuse the fact that they can't make a lexical case for it.
We could borrow the word seduce from...
No, we couldn't.
The problem is that's a very specific Hebrew word being used there, and this is a different context.
No, the problem is that they are two entirely different verbal roots that have no semantic relationship to each other.
That's why I said it's more along the lines of like the man trying to convince the woman to sleep with him. Similar in regards to Genesis 39 with Potiphar's wife and Joseph. In that Joseph wasn't overpowered, he wasn't forced, he could escape, but it was heavy persuasion, let's put it that way.
So we're playing semantic games now because the verbal root tafas is only used in the story of Joseph and Potiphar's wife to refer to her grabbing his coat. It is not used to refer to her attempt to seduce him. That uses entirely different verbs. So this creator is trying to take the context of that broader story and suggest we can read that all into this verbal root tafas, which is just pure and utter nonsense.
The best way I can illustrate it is with this unconvincing stock photo. Like, we wouldn't consider his behavior ethical, moral, acceptable, but she still has an opportunity to say no, to escape, to get away from the situation. If she were to give into the situation, then that's where this law in Deuteronomy 22 would come into play.
So now this creator is leaning into the notion that it's not rape unless it's physically impossible for the victim to escape.
See why this is so hard to translate?
The only thing that's hard to do here is rationalize away the plain sense of the text, because this is a very simple text.
And that's why, even though I consider it a bad translation, I can still see how the translators got there.
Well, I'm glad to hear you can sympathize with the naivete of the overwhelming academic consensus.
But rest assured, the scriptures do not advocate for the rape victim marrying their perpetrator.
They absolutely do, although the victim's agency here isn't really in play. She's more of an NPC in this story. The injured party in Deuteronomy 22 here is the father who loses the bride price that he stands to receive from marrying off his daughter.
There's a wonderful story in Genesis 34 about how God's people feel about people who perpetrate such acts.
Well, I don't really consider the rape of Dinah to be a wonderful story, but if we look there, we don't see the verb chazak that is used in Deuteronomy 22:25. We see the verb lakach, which means to take. So we have three different verbs across these three different passages used to refer to the seizing of a woman and then lying with her, using the verbal root shachav. But something that we have in the rape of Dinah that we also have in Deuteronomy 22:28 and 29 is ana, which usually means something like to oppress or humiliate, but in the PL is used to refer to raping a woman. So that is used in the rape of Dinah, that is used in the rape of Tamar, that is used in Judges 19 in the rape of the Levite's concubine, and that is used in Deuteronomy 22:28 and 29.